El Salvador's president is out here talking shit again, and a lot of you lames agree. And this is why it's bullshit, all right? For starters, all my love to the Salvies, all right? I got a lot of love for the Salvi folks. But your president Bukele, that fool is of Palestinian descent, and he's pro-Zionist. So if he don't care about his own people, what makes you think he's gonna care about anybody else? All right. When Bukele came in, this little rich kid, this little daddy's kid, he came in trying to turn El Salvador into like a crypto haven, right? It was really just a bullshit excuse to embezzle a bunch of money and scam a bunch of folks so that he could get richer and him and his homies could pocket a bunch of cash, right? Because it's untraceable. But the other thing is anybody could have seen that coming from a mile away. Most Central and South American countries are operating on like 90% cash. Credit card companies haven't been able to break into a lot of our homelands because it's so much cash, right? So it makes sense, and everybody could have seen it a mile away, if you're gonna give folks $30 worth of free crypto, that they're immediately gonna cash that out and your project is gonna fall flat on its face, and that's exactly what happened, right? But his claim to fame is, oh, we stopped all the violence, we stopped all the gangs in our country, we stopped all the gangs. Yes, they were able to lock down and be able to basically eradicate MS-13, right? Which also, MS-13 is a direct result of US foreign policy. Multiple times over. Every time that we talk about a lot of problems in Central and South America, the US is behind it and the US played an enormous role on it. But that's besides the point. How did he make El Salvador safe? He basically did it by going into every hood and locking up every male over the age of 13, 14 years old. How the fuck are you gonna call that a success when you literally just lock up everybody over 13 and 14 years old? Like, that is not only is it a terrible way to get results, the worst possible way, but you also have massive human rights violations, horrible conditions in the prisons, there's torture that goes on, people go missing all the time, bodies just get buried and no family members get notified at any point in time. Like, that is a massive, massive, massive disaster. So when he's out here saying that, oh, Mexico should do what we do, Mexico should do what we do, first of all, you got a country of 6 million people with El Salvador. That's like the size of like LA, the greater LA area, maybe, right? I don't know too well. But that's nothing compared to 132 million Mexicans that there is. That is a massive difference in a population. But just to give you a rough idea percentage-wise of the amount of people that are locked up here, the United States, which has notoriously for the longest time had the world's largest prison population, percentage-wise, when you break it down, the United States has about 0.5% of its people in prison. And that's the world's biggest prison population right there, 0.5%. Now, El Salvador, Bukele has almost 2% of his entire population locked up in prison. 2% is a ton of people. If Mexico were to do that, it'd be almost 2 million people. The US's prison population is almost 2 million people. And Mexico is less than half the size of the US. So you can't compare those two. The other thing you can't compare between El Salvador and Mexico is that in El Salvador, you have a lot of gangs with guns. Yes, you have gangs with guns, but gangs with guns is very different from Mexico that has cartels with armies. Cartels with armies have rocket launchers, have machine guns, have military training. Again, always by the US, because 75% of the weapons that come into Mexico are coming in from the US. It's military grade weaponry, it's drones, and Mexico has to deal with the world's largest drug consumer on its northern border. El Salvador doesn't have to deal with any of those conditions. So you can't go about dealing with these issues the same way. Not only can you not do that, Mexico already tried it in 2006 when Felipe Calderón declared his war against the cartels. Yes, it was a bullshit war that basically had his administration working for one cartel trying to eradicate the competition, but it was still a war against the cartels trying to eradicate a bunch of the cartels with violence and with imprisonments and with disappearances. The same thing Bukele is suggesting that Mexico do. And you cannot compare those two. Now, what Mexico has done that has succeeded is the longer road, but it's also the most practical and the most effective route. Since 6 years ago, they've already been upping all their social programs. They've been dumping a ton of money and resources into the education system, the medical system, You have work programs that are going on, internship programs. You have the Sembrando Vida program. The Sembrando Vida program that we already did a video on not only benefited Mexico, but that program extended out into Guatemala, and at the time, it extended out to El Salvador. They got 60 million for their portion of the Sembrando Vida program. It would have been more, but the US is a train wreck and they didn't pitch in on their portion of it. But that's besides the point. The point is, you can't compare the two countries and the problems that these two countries have for this arrogant little dictator to run around talking about you should do what we do. It's a train wreck. In conclusion, que Bukele me la pele.